We welcome in a Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Today on the show, I can't believe it, I'm going to be agreeing with Dave Roberts what a DeAndre Hunter contract extension might look like, and one name for the Hawks that I'm not really that excited about. It's all next. It's Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
We welcome into Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We ask you to head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser, find our page, subscribe, leave us a comment. Of course, free and available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Download us on Spotify, Odyssey, whatever your favorites are. Leave us a 5-star review, and then follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. I guess hell can freeze over, right? Now, look, I'm not a big fan of Dave Roberts, the manager for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think he's a lousy manager. And, look, he's a guy that's squandered a lot of talent in LA. The fact that they only have the one world championship, and that was in the pandemic season, considering that they've been one of the best, or not the best, franchises in the National League, and certainly have spent like no other franchise in the league. But recently, when the Braves and the Dodgers hooked up, Dave Roberts said that, quote, Max Fried might be the best left-hander in Major League Baseball. You know what? I guess strange bedfellows, but I agree with Dave Roberts. I want you to listen to some of these numbers. Now, last night, Max Fried got the victory over the Cardinals as the Braves have taken now 3 straight against them. Look for the sweep against them. Fried has gone now to 9-2 on the season, leads the National League in games started, a 2.52 ERA, 107 innings pitched, 100 strikeouts, 17 walks. He has almost a 6-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. But listen to Max Fried's numbers that I'm going to throw out here over the last handful of years. So in the last 4 years, he's 47-15. That's a almost 76% win percentage, a 7.58 win percentage. So he's winning almost 3 out of every 4 starts that he makes. This year, in the 17 games when he pitches, the Braves are 13-4. Since August of last year, the Braves are 23-5 when he pitches. And the last 3 years, he has a 2.74 ERA and averages almost 4 strikeouts to every walk. Now, I don't know what the definition of ace is. Does he look exactly like DeGrom? Does he look exactly like Max Scherzer? Does he look like Garrett Cole at times? No. But here's what I know. Max Fried is the ultimate winner. And when he steps on the mound, the Braves win. You can't dumb your way to 23-5 in the last year and few months of the season when Max Fried goes on the hill. He is the best left-hander in baseball. In fact, I don't know, he's probably one of the top 4 or 5, maybe less than that, maybe top 3 or 4 pitchers in Major League Baseball right now. When you can hand the ball to a guy and you know every time out you're going to get a quality start and you're going to have a chance to win, that's what an ace is, right? When we talk about what does an ace mean, it means every 5th day, no matter what has happened, I'm winning a bunch of games, I've lost 4 straight games, whatever it is, that he's a guy that comes in and is going to stop any sort of bad streak that you may have, or he's going to keep the good that you have going. And he's fantastic. I don't know that he's going to start the All-Star game because Alcantara has been outstanding. I mean, he's doing things that no modern-day pitcher is supposed to do, pitching to the 8th and 9th inning, God forbid. His manager just runs him out there and says, go get him, son. And he's just blowing people away. So I'm going to guess that he's the National League starter. But if he's not, Fried is right there in the mix for all of that. And maybe because Snicker's the manager, maybe he lets Max Fried be the starter. But there's no doubt about it that Fried is outstanding. Now, I'm going to give you a comparison to another guy here in just a second, but want to talk to you about my friends over at BlueNile.com. Listen, I know it's summertime. You may be thinking about love is in the air, right? The things are in bloom and, there's romance all around. Maybe you're thinking about getting engaged. Listen, BlueNile.com is the place to be. You're looking for an engagement ring. You're looking for something special. You got an anniversary or whatever. You just want to treat her great. BlueNile.com is the place to go. So they have a couple of different things. One is they have the creature build the engagement ring of her dreams, where you can go online, use the tools. They let you choose the shape, size, clarity, as well as the setting style. And then they'll handcraft that perfect engagement ring that you create. Each ring is obviously one of a kind. You want something special? They've got their life special moments. Looking for, a gift, an anniversary, this, that, and the other. You can talk to one of their experts 24/7. You can talk to them on the phone. You can talk to them through the chat. They've got all kinds of gifts that you can get out there. So whether you're trying to get engaged, whether you just want to celebrate something special, BlueNile.com is the place to be. Now, here's what we've got going on as well. Got a special deal for our listeners here of Locked On Sports Atlanta. I'm going to give you $50 off any purchase of $500 or more. So when you go to BlueNile.com, I want you to put Locked On in the code. So use the code Locked On, LOCKEDON. Use that code Locked On, and you're going to get $50 off, $500 or more. Every order is insured. It ships free. It arrives in a discreet package that's not going to tip off what it is. You can shop stress-free, and it's your forever place to go for jewelry. BlueNile.com is your place to go today. Now, I know that this is not going to be fair, and I'm not saying that they're the exact same pitcher and things like that, but isn't there a lot of Tom Glavine in Max Fried when you talk about the crafty lefty, the moxie, the ability to get guys out? He doesn't overpower you or anything like that. He's got the stuff. Right? I mean, he does have a lot of that Tom Glavine in him. And he's a winner, like what Tom was. Tom didn't dumb his way to over 300 wins. He's a winner. And that's the vibe that Max Fried gives. Now, look, I understand. It's a different time, different era of starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Guys don't pitch long and guys don't get a chance to do things. But Fried is a guy that when he is on the mound, the Braves are always going to be in it. And honestly, it's gotten to the point where you expect that every time Max Fried makes a start, you're about to see a terrific performance. And maybe it's last night, 6 innings, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, a walk. Okay. I mean, that's typical Max Fried. He doesn't get himself into a lot of trouble. He doesn't add a lot of extra base runners because he doesn't walk anybody. I mean, if you look at the fact that he's got 17 walks in 107 innings pitched, that's absurd. And he's only given up 6 home runs in 107 innings, which last year the home run ball was a little bit of an issue, but not very much. I mean, 15 homers in 165 innings, that's pretty good. But when you look at how good Fried has been these last few years, yeah, it's crazy to think. I agree with Dave Roberts. Who's a better left-hander right now in baseball? And realistically, how many starters would you take over Max Fried? I understand how good DeGrom and Scherzer and Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander, I get how good those guys are. But Max Fried, when you look at the amount of games that they win, 23-5 since August of last year. Braves are 13-4 this year. He's 47-15. That's, to be honest with you, that's Pedro Martinez kinds of winning percentage. When Martinez was in his prime with the, finishing with the Expos and then coming over to the Red Sox, that's the kind of numbers he was putting up winning percentage wise. Or Dwight Gooden in his first few years in the league. Think about it. He wins 3 out of 4 games that he pitches. That's an outstanding ratio. So as crazy as it sounds, I hate to agree with Dave Roberts on just about anything because I think he's a lousy manager. I'll say it. I think he's a lousy manager. But in this case, no doubt about it, Max Fried is the best left-hander in baseball going today. All right, when we come back, what a DeAndre Hunter contract extension may look like and maybe a player comparison. We'll talk about that next. Jon Chuckery here on Hittin' Hard on Locked On Sports. Welcome back in, Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you find us, hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. Of course, we're free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can download us on Spotify, Odyssey, all your favorites. Leave us a 5-star review and then follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. One of the big decisions that the Hawks have to make here, and make here kind of pretty quickly, even though he's going to become a restricted free agent, is picking up and extending the contract of DeAndre Hunter. Now, if we go back to the way it ended for the Atlanta Hawks last year, right? That final game, that game 5 against Miami, Hunter was outstanding, right? He had like 35 points, was just all over the court and really was their big offensive boost. We've been kind of waiting for DeAndre Hunter to kind of have that explosion, right? He was the 4th overall draft pick. He came out as the best defender in all of college basketball. He was definitely, without question, he was the best one-on-one defender coming into that draft a few years ago. It's been a bit of a slow, kind of stumbling. Really, that's more because of the amount of games that he's played. In his 3 seasons in the NBA, he's only played a total of 139 games, 63, 23, and then 53 last year. Last year, he averaged 13.4 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. Okay. I mean, nothing spectacular. He was 15 points a game the year before. Is he the Hawks' best wing defender? Yeah, he's the Hawks' best wing defender. But what does an extension look like for DeAndre Hunter? So I'm going to give you another name that I think we all hope that DeAndre Hunter can become, and that's Mikal Bridges from the Phoenix Suns. Now, Bridges is a guy that, if you look at his numbers last year, 14 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Okay, that's pretty similar to DeAndre Hunter. He shot 36.9% from three-point land last year. Hunter was 37.9. Okay, seems like Hunter's right on pace with what Bridges is. There's one big thing that Bridges is, though, in comparison to Hunter, and this is where we hope that it can be. Bridges is a first-team All-NBA defensive player, and he is an outstanding defensive player. In fact, there's a pretty good separation if you look at defensive ratings between where Bridges is and even where Hunter ranks right now. So if you like those kinds of stats, and I do think that they are at least a way to give you some kind of perspective when you talk about defensive rating and you talk about, points per 100% possessions and things like that. There aren't a lot of other great metrics, so I'm open to hearing about a different one, but Bridges is an elite level defender. And I think the hope is that Hunter can become that kind of guy as well. I think we're hoping that he becomes that player. Now, when we come back, I'm going to talk about the money aspect of everything. But let me tell you about my friends at Arcade 1-Up. Listen, we've got big news. NBA Jam is back. So it's obviously one of the great games of all time, but they've made it even better. There is a new, bigger, better version, and that is the Shaq Edition machine. So we know how much you love NBA Jam, and it was one of the first games to feature real and digitalized licensed NBA teams, no fouls, no free throws, things like that. We know how much you love it. But our friends at Arcade 1-Up have come up with this new Shaq Edition machine. Now, by the way, Arcade 1-Up too, go to the website, Golden Tee, Mortal Kombat, all kinds of other games. If you go to arcade1up.com, arcade1up.com, you can see all the games that they have starting at just $3.99. And more importantly, is you can pre-order this Shaq Edition machine. Arcade, the number 1, up.com, should ship sometime, hopefully in early September, and you can get the limited edition Shaq Edition machine. Now, also, too, I want to let you know that here for our Locked On Sports Atlanta listeners, we are giving away an NBA Jam Shaq Edition. If you want to enter for a chance to win the game console for your man cave, whatever, go to arcade1up.com/lockedon. Again, arcade, the number 1, up.com/lockedon. And you're going to have until July 8th to win the NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. And you can pre-order it on their website for early September. Don't miss out. NBA Jam is back. So Bridges here recently signed a 4-year, $90.9 million extension. Okay. So you're looking at, what does that come out to be, right? Over 20 something $million a year, not, 20, 24, somewhere, maybe not, maybe 23, I guess, maybe some 23, $24 million a year on his extension, about 22, whatever. I'm not here to do math, but it's in the 20s. It's in the low 20s. How about that? Is DeAndre Hunter going to get that kind of money? Now, I've seen some reports that say his extension may be like 4 for $48. I got my Austin 316 shirt on. I don't think it's going to be 4 for $48. I don't think you're going to get away with paying a guy, not in the way the marketplace is. Offensively, DeAndre Hunter is every bit the player that Bridges is. I mean, statistically, you look at all the numbers across the board and what they do in this and the other, they're very similar. The difference is Bridges is an elite defender. Is there a premium on that? Sure. Now, Hunter, by the way, is 2 inches taller than what Bridges is. Bridges 6'6", Hunter about 6'8". But if we're talking about guys that we hope to become, that's what we hope to become. I'm going to guess that probably Hunter is going to sign for less than 90.9 in that 4-year deal, but he's probably going to average somewhere $16-18 million a year. Might not be 22, 23, but I think 16-18 million a year. Now, if you want to know part of the reason why that they may have moved on from Kevin Huerter, and the money thing is not the whole thing, but let's be honest. You do have to, at some point, also from a business perspective, think about freeing up some cash because you're teetering on the luxury tax. And look, you got DeJounte Murray coming up in a couple of years. It's going to get a lot of money. Yeah, you're going to move some money off your books, but Hunter's got to get an extension. Okongwu's going to get an extension at some point in the next year or two. You're going to have guys that you're going to have to start feeding money to. While some salaries come off, some salaries are going to get put back on the books. And I think clearing up the $65 million at a position where you had a lot of logjam, okay, to be honest, they have too many guards. And I'm going to be honest, you ain't going to like this, but there's 100 guys in the league who can do what Kevin Huerter does. Okay, there's 100 guys that do what his skill set is out there. I like him. Thought it was a fun piece. They drafted him. I get all that. But $65 million is $65 million if you can clear all of that up. And Huerter just was going into the very first year of that extension this season. So if you're going to extend Hunter and you're going to have a bunch of money tied up into him, you're hoping that you're betting on what his next step is, right? I think Huerter, we kind of know exactly what he was and where he was level-wise. Hunter's a guy that you're hoping takes that next step. And you're hoping the guy that we saw in that Game 5 in Miami is the guy that he becomes. And I think we're hoping that, DeAndre Hunter can become a Mikal Bridges as far as how good defensively that he is. He's not there yet. He's not the same player. Offensively, there's a lot of similarity in a lot of the things that they do, but Bridges gets paid a bunch of money because he's an elite level defender. And you're hoping that that's what Hunter becomes. So his number is going to be very interesting because people have talked about $11-12 million. I don't think you're going to get DeAndre Hunter for $11-12 million. I don't think you're going to get it. If you do, kudos to Landry Fields and Travis Schlenk and whatever the structure is of their front office and Tony Ressler and whatever their structure is. If they get him for $11 or $12 million, that could be a steal. That could be an absolute steal in this league, especially if he takes the next step up. His biggest thing to start with is that he's got to play more. We have to be able to count on him playing 75 games next year. That's the first thing. Show me that he can be healthy, continue to leap defensively, and take your offensive game to the next level. He's going to get paid really well in the NBA. Now, when we come back, one name that I'm pretty not excited about that I keep seeing linked to the Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk about that next. It's Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports. Welcome back into Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. Find us, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. Of course, we're also free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Downloads for free there. Leave us a 5-star review, and then follow me on my Twitter page at JMCH3 8.16. So I've seen this name linked around to the Atlanta Hawks. And look, we're getting to the point where there are very few names that either make sense or you can really link to the Atlanta Hawks. This guy is a free agent. So it's not DeAndre Ayton, not Ben Simmons, not trading for one of those guys that I'm way less than enamored with. But one name that I've seen that some people think that maybe the Hawks should look at is, ready, dun, 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 Carmelo Anthony. Now, Anthony, of course, is 37 years old. Actually, he just turned 38 about a little over a month ago, turned 38 years old. Last year with the Lakers, 13.3 points per game, averaged 4 rebounds, and averaged just 1 assist. Played 26 minutes per game. You know, he actually played in 69 games, which, to be honest with you, is a lot better than a lot of our guys played. You know, the fact that he played in 69 games, but 26 minutes, you know, a guy coming off the bench, shot almost 6 threes per game, was shooting 37.5% from 3. So he's got a pretty good percentage. Took about 11 shots a game. So just over half of his shots were from 3, and 13 points a game off the bench. Is he a guy, and I've seen his name popping up now because, look, we're getting to the point, like I said, there are very few guys left to wrap your arms around for the Atlanta Hawks. And they do have to make some moves. I mean, they do have to start bringing in some other players. You know, again, they've got A.J. Griffin and they got Jalen Johnson, and they'll probably mix in some of their young guys and this, that, and the other. But, you know, they're looking for potential bodies. And if you're looking for a guy coming off the bench, could Carmelo Anthony fill that role? I don't know. I mean, look, it would make some sense because he's bench scoring. He plays a position where you could use some help at, right? He can play that, you know, one of those wing positions out there. But one of the things that Landry Fields has talked about is their number one priority is they've got to get better defensively. Now, they just drafted A.J. Griffin, who is not considered to be a very good defensive player. He's a terrific catch and shoot from the 3, you know, can score and all that kind of stuff, but he's not considered to be a very good defensive player, and he's got to work on that aspect of his game. Now, the nice thing is that, you know, at 18 years old, not even 19 yet, he won't be 19 until August, he's got plenty of time to work on that part of his game and figure it out. Carmelo Anthony at 38 is a finished product. So if you're looking for a guy to just come in like Vinnie Johnson back in the old days, that's for my old school listeners. Vinnie Johnson was known as the microwave. He was a guy who would come in off the bench and he could just shoot you right back into a game. Now, some nights he could shoot you out of a game, but his plan was, you know, and his role on the Detroit Pistons championship teams was come in and shoot you back into a game if need be. Anthony at 38 doesn't really excite me. I get that he's a veteran. I get that you're looking for some of those kinds of guys. And, you know, maybe he would have some interest here because the Hawks do look like they're ready to try to win, right? So if he's not going back to L.A., I've seen him linked back again with the Knicks. Can I tell you, that seems more like a perfect fit for Carmelo Anthony, is to go back to the Knicks. I like the 13 points a game. I like the fact that he was playing 26 minutes. He probably wouldn't have to play that kind of minutes for this team. Let me put it to you this way. It's probably not a good thing if he has to play 26 minutes a night. So it doesn't excite me as much. Now, let me, before we get going here, talk to you, about my friends over at Coffee AM. You know how passionate I am about these folks. They're the best small batch coffee roaster in America, located up in Canton, Georgia. So they're a local company. These folks are great. They sent us a little care goodie package, and I'm telling you, that thing has, it's like, you know, like you get those Febreze and stuff like that. I love the smell of coffee. I'm a coffee junkie. I'm a coffeeaholic. I drink it every morning. I drink multiple cups every morning. I love my coffee. And when they sent me this package and all the different roasts, I was in pig slop heaven, right? So you go to coffeeam.com and you browse around. They got all kinds of coffee blends. They've got blends of tea. They've got K-cups. They've got everything that you could want there. And they have a huge selection, and you're going to love what they have available to you. Now, here's what we've got going on. So for our Locked On Sports Atlanta listeners here, if you go to coffeeam.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON, go take a look at their full menu of their coffees, teas. They got gift sets, all kinds of stuff. Use the coupon code Locked On at checkout. LOCKEDON. Locked On. Use that coupon code at checkout, and you're going to get 15% off that first order. Coffees, teas, gift sets, whatever it is, 15% off if you use the coupon code Locked On when you get to checkout. They've got a huge selection. Check out all the different things that they've got. You love organic stuff. You love fair trade. You love all these different blends, espresso and flavored coffees. They have that, teas, gift sets, and more. Go see my friends at coffeeam.com and use Locked On to get 15% off of your first order. And yes, while I understand that, we could certainly use some offense, I think that role, you hope that, the 18-year-old is the guy that you start to lean on. And Jalen Johnson's another guy as well that they have to bring in here. I'm not that enamored with Carmelo Anthony, and I think that it makes a lot more sense for him to go up to the Knicks. They're not ready to win. He can go home. He can go shoot the gym, lights out and all that good kind of stuff and do all that stuff. But as far as bringing him here with the Atlanta Hawks, that doesn't really excite me. And look, the reality of the situation is, and I told you guys this months and months ago, is you do have to expand your horizons about who is available and you can bring in. Because remember when all of those guys that everybody was tweeting me and they were sending me messages and stuff like that, oh, Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal and Bob. Okay, well, those guys were never available. And I said, those names sound good, but they're not going to be available. Well, why would Bradley Beal go back to Washington? Because he gets $251 million. That's why. Because he gets $60 guaranteed million more than anybody else in the NBA is able to pay him. Not that somebody wouldn't, but nobody can pay him that kind of money. Duh. That's why he goes. That's why Zach LaVine stays in Chicago. Oh, I can sign for $214 for 4. Get the Bird rookie mat. Yeah, give me all the money. Give me that loot. Right? So when I see these names out here, I get it. I understand. And I like what the Hawks have done. I like Aaron Holiday. Okay. You weren't going to pay DeLon Wright 2 for $16. God bless him, but you weren't going to pay him that kind of money. Okay. Here comes one of the Holiday brothers. Aaron Holiday's a defensive-minded guard. He can be your backup point guard, right? Cooper will kind of probably play mostly at College Park for the Skyhawks and maybe a little bit of time up here, but you have a veteran that you think can help you out. He was in Phoenix last year. He comes from a good organization. He did a lot of good things in Phoenix. Cool. Bring him on and have him help you out. So I get some of those names and things like that. But I think we're reaching that point with the Atlanta Hawks where there aren't a lot of great or viable options, and they still need to add some guys. Now, maybe they trade because, look, the 2 contracts that they brought back in the Herter trade are expiring contracts. I don't think it's coincidence that Justin Holiday and Mo Harkless are on their final year of their deal and have about $11 million or so of space that would be available, and you can move those contracts. So if you need to add that piece into a trade. But I think at this point, I don't think we're going to see the mega trade from the Hawks. I think John Collins is most likely going to stay here, but you're going to have to get creative about how you're going to fill this roster out. All right, we thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day. Make my friends over at ATL Day Ones your second listen. That is my friends Jarvis Davis and Tanitra Batiste talking about all things in the heart of the city of Atlanta. They got you covered on all Atlanta sports. Hawks, Dogs, Braves, Falcons, you pick. They're talking about it. Free and available on our YouTube page, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Subscribe there today. Also, you can download us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Download us for free and leave us a 5-star review. And then, of course, follow me on my personal Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. We will wrap up the week tomorrow. This has been Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.